Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Laura. What a group this is. Wow. Well, this has turned out to be very successful, and I really appreciate you all coming out. Those are two very special people that we're with today. We just spent a lot of time backstage with them, and you have been great friends. But before I really introduce them, and you've already heard them, and you've been hearing them for a number of months, they've, in one case, we have already a great congressman, and in the other case, we're going to have a great congressman. Those are terrific people. Mark and Ted, they're going to be very representative of your views because the Democrats aren't. You know, I wrote a few little things down, and if you look, and you don't have to look down, all you have to do is say very simply, open borders, they want to abolish ICE, they don't mind crime, they want higher taxes, they want to knock out your Medicare because they want to go socialist. And somehow I don't see North Carolina as being the next Venezuela. Do we agree? I don't see it. But, you know, we have a couple of friends here, and I want to just say, Virginia Fox, where's Virginia? She's so great. Where's Virginia? These are incredible. Hi, Virginia. Thank you, Virginia. Representative Richard Hudson. Where is he? Hi, Richard. Great job. And you're really doing a great job, and we appreciate it. It's called Tax Cut. Tax Cut, Richard. The man with the greatest name in all of politics, Patrick McHenry. Patrick. And he's been fantastic, and a real leader and a real friend, too. Another real friend, a very, very special person, strong, tough, incredible leader, happens to come from the area, if you don't mind driving about 3 hours, right, Deb? But they drove down about a 3-hour drive, and he's an amazing guy, Mark Meadows. Mark. And Representative Joe Wilson. Where's Joe? Is Joe here? And his son has been incredible. Hi, Joe. And his son, by the way. His son is really outdoing you, Joe. That's okay, though, right? We don't mind. Good fathers like that. Bad fathers, they're not so happy about that, right? But anyway, now we have a lot of other representatives here, a lot of other friends. But we need help in Congress. We can have all the ideas we want, but we have some really bad people that are running for office. Bad people for a lot of reasons, but primarily because they're doing a tremendous injustice to our country. I don't know if they really believe this stuff. A lot of it's hard to believe that they believe. Because you say, how do you believe in open borders where the entire world population can pour into our country? I mean, we have a beauty running in, as an example, in California. I watched it last night. Running for governor. We have a great guy in John Cox. I think he's going to do well. He did a lot of surprises. Gave him a big endorsement. He went up like a rocket ship. And he's fairly close. You know, in California, you're not supposed to win as a Republican. I don't quite understand that for statewide. But we have John Cox. He's doing fantastically. But the man who was favored, I guess, probably still favored, but he said he wants health care for everyone. He wants everything for everyone. He wants to open up the borders. He wants to take care of everybody. And I was just saying, what happens if the whole world decides to go to California? That means they're going to take care of the whole world, right? I guess. Where do you stop? You're going to take care of a lot of people, but they're not going to be able to do it very long because it's not going to work. So I just want to thank the two people that really we're here for today. Raised a lot of money, and you folks are the ones that did it. Ted Budd and Mark Harris. Really great. You know, Mark is really big on tax cuts, really big on your Second Amendment. Both of them are unbelievable when it comes to protecting and taking care of our military and our great vets. You know, we did a lot for the vets. Choice. We got choice approved. 46 years they tried to get choice approved. They couldn't do it. And we got it done. That means the vet goes in, he has to wait. You know, some of them wait online for 2 days, 5 days, 20 days, 30 days, 50 days. Some of them never get to see a doctor. Now they go out, they see a doctor, we pay for it, and do you want to know something? We actually, number one, most importantly, we take care of our great vets. But number two, we save money. It's much less expensive. And they're so happy. For 46 years, they've been trying to get it through. It's hard to get things through, but I'm good at getting things through. And Mark Meadows helped. Mark Meadows helped. And Patrick helped. They all helped. Everyone that I mentioned really helped. Virginia. And we got it through. And then we have so many other things that we got through. And I wrote down a list of elements that, frankly, people wouldn't believe. And a lot of it has to do with trade, where we're doing very well. We had a very serious violation today because I gave an interview to Bloomberg yesterday. And I said, off the record, some things about Canada. Nothing bad. Fortunately, that would have been. But the kind of a comment you'd make off the record. And it says, off the record, and I gave a statement. It actually said. And they gave it out. And it's a big story today. But here's the good news. At least Canada knows where I stand. Because we can't have these countries taking advantage of the United States anymore. It's very simple. And we're not going to let that happen. And, you know, a man named Dan D'Amico, I've been working with this guy for like 20 years. Haven't seen him much. Does everyone know him? Yeah. Where's Dan? Is he around here? Come on. I didn't know him too much. I saw him a little while ago. I said, you're the guy that's been working on this thing like for 25 years. He's been working on more than any other single voice other than maybe mine, because I've been talking about it too. I was in the private sector, but I know when we're getting ripped off. I said, China's ripping us off. Japan's ripping us off. Mexico's ripping us off. Canada's ripping us off. The whole world is ripping us off. There's nobody that's not ripping us off. In fact, I thought I found a country, very small, located in South America. And I said, you know, I think we made actually a better deal with that country. It turned out I was wrong. It wasn't. Because I was going to talk to the president. I was going to say, what's wrong with you? You're the only one. But turned out they made a very good deal, too. Now, the whole world is ripping us off. Last year, we had $817 billion trade deficit. Did you know that, Mr. Meadows? 817, not million, but billion. A year, 817. Anyway, Dan would be this voice. It was like a voice in the wilderness. And I looked at him today, I said, but you failed. He said, no, I didn't. You got elected president, and look what you've done. He's right. He didn't fail. You didn't fail. It took us a little longer than we thought, right? Because, you know, some things are so simple. You'd say, how could it be possible that people don't see it? Like a country tariffs us, then we tariff them, and Congress comes down and they say, why are you tariffing? I say, because they're doing it to us. They say, but that's not free trade. I said, of course it's free trade. What's wrong with you? See, I don't call it free trade. I call it fair trade. Or I call it non-stupid trade. But I want to have Dan. He made a couple of statements, just for a second. He really has. He's a big steel guy, very, like, as big as you get. And he was just fighting a battle when he was the head of Nucor, right? Nucor. And now Nucor is spending billions of dollars opening up new plants because 6 months ago, I said, we're going to put a tariff of 25% on all the steel that's dumped in this country. They were dumping it. They were killing our steel companies. There were very few left. There were very few plants open. They were just killing us. And it was a very sad thing for me to watch. And you know what's going to happen, by the way, and I don't know if Dan agrees with me, but what happens is they kill your steel companies, and then they start selling your steel at much higher prices. You know, it's like a monopoly deal. But also, we need steel for defense. It's not like a regular industry. If we ever had a war, and I don't think we're going to have our military is becoming so strong, $700 billion and $716 billion next year. And the stronger we get, the less likely it is that we have a problem, okay? That's the one thing I've learned. I learned that. You know when I learned that? In grammar school, I learned that. I learned that a long time ago. You learned that as a little boy playing baseball in the yard. The stronger you are, the less likely it is that you're going to have a problem. But I'd like to have Dan just say a few words about maybe what he's been through really quickly, what he's been through and where we are now. Because the hottest industry there is right now is the steel industry. And it was dead as a doornail. We were not going to have a steel industry in a couple of years from now had we not done what we did. So, Dan, come up and say a couple of words, please.
Thank you, President. Brief, I heard the word brief. Number one, if you don't think the steel prices will go through the roof after they destroyed the steel industry, look what China's doing to the world that they loan money to in all the countries. And now they're in their debt and they're getting killed, all right? No, but the main reason I came here today, other than to support our two folks running for Congress, was to tell President Trump, thank you. As the Chairman Emeritus and former Chairman and CEO of Nucor, as the Chairman of the Coalition for Prosperous America, over 27,000 teammates at Nucor, we touch 4.6 million households at the Coalition for Prosperous America. I am here today to tell him on their behalf, thank you for living up to your election promises to the American people. Thank you.
We won't let you go. Thank you, Dan. It's so great to see where, you know, one of Dan's competitors, U.S. Steel, I guess that was the biggest company in the world 50 or 60 years ago, and now it was, you know, it was very hurt, very badly hurt. And they're really back. And they announced they're opening up 7 or 8 new plants. They're going to do a lot more than that. Nucor's opening up plants all over the place. In many cases, they're brand new. I mean, they're spending $500 million, $750 million, all over the place. It's an incredible thing to see. I did ask Dan one question. If I didn't do what I'm doing, would you have opened up and be opening up new plants? He said, absolutely not. He said, absolutely not. We wouldn't be opening up, and it would be closing things, and we'd be closing probably the rest of it. But that's what was happening. We have a hot steel industry, and that's a great industry. We need it so badly. But I wrote down a few of the, and we don't have enough time because, you know, we'll, I don't know if this is on, is this live television? I can't believe it. Even every speech. Do we have, see, anytime you see the red light on, that means you're live, and there's red lights. But I wrote down just a few things. And it's, these are, each little dot is a thing that we've already done. And we have page after page. There's 2 additional pages here. That's right. And it would take a long time to read them all, but just a few. Almost 4 million jobs created since the election. Think of it. And remember this. Remember this. For Ted and for all of these people, including the ones that aren't here for any reason other than they're supporting Mark and Ted, the Democrats, they're going to raise your taxes. They're going to increase job-killing regulations. I think if Dan were up here now, I'm not bringing him back up, but if he were, if I asked you about which was more important, the tax cuts or the regulation cuts, it would be pretty close, right? Some people say regulations, but both is better. And they're going to shut down your energy. The crime is going to be rampant because when they open up the borders, the crime is going to be a disaster. They're going to raid your Medicare to pay for socialism. It's a big statement. They're going to raid your Medicare. They're going to take your Medicare, and it's going to pay for socialism. And if you look at Venezuela, that's a good example of current-day socialism. They're going to abolish ICE. So they're going to open borders and abolish ICE. These ICE people, these are great people. They're brave. They're tough. You know, I know a lot of people in this room, and they're pretty tough guys, but you don't want to fight ICE. You don't. You don't. Let's see. You don't. You might. You'll get your ass kicked, but you'll be in there. Those couple of guys might, at least for a little while. Then you say, I want ICE. Where's ICE? These are tough people, and they're good people. And if we didn't have them, we would have problems. Because you have towns all over the country where people came in through the Obama administration. They call it MS-13 and many other gangs. But MS-13's the worst. They're like evil. You saw the speech last night. I talked about them, so I won't go into it. But they're evil. They like knives better than guns because it's a much more painful death. And then when I said they're animals, Nancy Pelosi went crazy. She said, how dare he talks about human beings that way? I mean, can you believe this? So you have to be very politically correct, right, Deb? We have to be very nice. We have to. I agree. I agree. Maxine Waters is very nice. We want to be just like Maxine. So. She's a fine woman. She's a fine woman. But we need protection. I love our law enforcement, right? And we need. But just running down this list, you know, Ted and Mark, they didn't give me a light up here, okay? Everything's perfect. There's only one thing missing. It's like dark. I can't even see my hand. But that's okay, because you have to sometimes improvise, right? See, I'm using those lights to read this. But I put down all of these things. Just yesterday, I had them made up. 4 million jobs created since the election. That's unheard of. Nobody thought that was possible. More Americans are now employed than at any time in our recorded history. Think of it. More Americans today, more Americans are working today than ever before in the history of our country. In other words, we have more jobs. A lot. And we've created almost 500,000, soon it's going to be 600,000 manufacturing jobs. Now, the previous administration, and even during the campaign, President Obama would go around, and they talked about manufacturing. It's like an old, obsolete business. I said, well, you're going to make things? I mean, Dan would say, what are we going to do here? So steel was like an obsolete business. Maybe that's why they said we don't need any steel anymore. I don't know. But they said manufacturing's obsolete. They're actually the best jobs you can have. You make things. It's work. It's good. They're the best jobs. They're the best jobs. You know about economic growth? It was 4.1, but 2 days ago they raised it to 4.2. Nobody thought that was possible. Unemployment claims are at an almost 50-year low. Think of that. Now think of that. Do you know what? In other words, unemployment claims, that's a tremendous amount of money going out, 50-year low. Median household income has hit the highest level ever recorded. So that the median household income, these are good statistics, Meadows, right? How do you lose an election with these statistics? Everyone said the midterms. Maybe there's going to be a red wave. They talk about this blue wave. They're not talking about the blue wave anymore. At least we got the word wave, you know, blue wave. I think it's unfair with this whole redistricting thing they're doing in North Carolina. Oh. How unfair is that? We'll put that in Mark Meadows' hands, okay, Mark? I'll blame you. Hey, Mark, you're now blamed on television, right? No, it's very unfair. You have an election in a little more than 60 days, and they change the district on you, and you've already won primaries. How does that work? The court system, okay? How does that work? You've all gone through primaries, or most of you have. It's been districted for many years, and now you have to redraw lines to have a new district, even though you won a primary in another district? I don't know. There has to be something going on there. So I know you guys are working on that, Mark. African-American unemployment has recently achieved the lowest rate ever recorded. Hispanic-American unemployment, the lowest rate ever recorded. Asian. Do we have any Asian Americans in the room? Please, raise your hand. Are you working? Yes. Yes, where? Good. Well, you're going to like me. We have one. Asian American unemployment recently achieved the lowest level. Did I do a good job for you? She said, thank you. Women's unemployment reached the lowest rate in only 65 years. Sorry, women, I didn't quite get that. But 65 years, not too bad. There was a time when if I said the best in 65 years, you'd say, good job. Now when I say 65 years, it's like not nearly as good as ever. But I'll tell you what, women's unemployment will very shortly be a historic number also. Yeah. The lowest unemployment rate ever recorded for Americans without a high school diploma. That's a big thing. We're setting, I think so importantly, prisoners, they come out of prison, they can never get a job. Now they're getting jobs. We have programs that we're working on, very good. But I guess maybe the greatest program is our economy is so strong. And employers are hiring prisoners when they might not have done it 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And I'll tell you what, I know one in particular that's so thrilled, cannot believe it, how good it's working out. And you know, a lot of times they come out, they can't get a job, and they end up in prison because they can't get a job. What are they going to do? Now they're getting jobs, and they're getting jobs at record numbers. The veterans' unemployment recently reached the lowest rate in 20 years, veterans, and that's going to be very historic also. 3.9 million Americans have been lifted off food stamps. This is just in a short period of time. We're training almost 5 million Americans to work in other places. We're doing it through great corporations, Walmart, FedEx. So many great companies are now spending a tremendous amount on teaching people, because they're doing it better than us. I mean, what are we going to do, open schools all over the place, which we do? But there's nothing like the big companies. Retail sales surged last month, and it's one of the highest years. It's really doing well, up 6%. 6%, that's we're talking about, that's a lot. We signed the biggest package of tax cuts and tax reforms in history. We got rid of that horrible individual mandate in Obamacare. We've decimated Obamacare. And you know, to me, very important, we really had Obamacare defeated, but unfortunately, you could really say anybody that didn't vote is really the deciding vote. We didn't get any Democratic votes. None of the Democrats voted, and what we've done is we've decimated it. But if you look, we got rid of the individual mandate. That was where you had the privilege of spending a lot of money for the privilege of not spending money on bad health care. Think of that, what that means. Nobody's ever heard of a thing like that. You spend money so you don't have to spend money. But we got rid of it, it's gone. And I'll tell you what, for small business owners, what a blessing that is. We just got the Winter Olympics, and we just got the World Cup. Okay, these are like, by the way, these are like small things. We opened up Anwar in Alaska, and I approved the Keystone XL pipeline and the Dakota Access Pipeline, 48,000 jobs. And that was done immediately upon, right after the inauguration. I signed them and I got the approvals. 48,000 jobs, the two pipelines. Better environmentally than trucking it and using trains, better. We've recorded the largest number of regulation cuts in the history of our country. No administration has ever cut, even though I'm here just short of 2 years, I've cut more regulations than any president in our country. We did something that's interesting, because to me it was very important. Right to try. This is a program where if a person's terminally ill, if they had money, they'd travel to other continents, they'd travel to other places. They were desperate, they wanted hope. And they travel all over. They wanted hope. And what would happen is they just couldn't find anything. We have a great pipeline, but it takes a long time. It used to take 12 to 14 years. I've upped it very substantially. We have tremendous people over there. FDA, we have tremendous people. And what we're doing now with Right to Try is incredible. You sign a document and you try. And in many cases, it's going to work. And it's hope. It's hope. It's really something special. To me, that was very important. And it's not as easy as you think. Mark Meadows and all of these people worked so hard to get this done because, I mean, the insurance companies had problems. We got taken care of. The states had problems. The government had problems, liability problems. You give them something and they sue. I said, what's the purpose of not doing it? Well, sir, we don't want to get sued. Okay, that makes sense. But think of it. In some cases, they didn't want to give it because they didn't want to hurt the patient. But these are terminally ill patients. I said, they'll sign a waiver, and everybody signs a waiver now. But a lot of people are using it. Right to try. It's such a great thing. Just one of the many things we've done. But it's so important. But the big thing is we're building our military stronger than ever before. All of these things are happening. We're taking care of our vets. We're putting great judges on the courts. We got Judge Kavanaugh, hopefully in great shape. He's a great judge, great conservative, wonderful person. Justice Gorsuch is doing a fantastic job on the Supreme Court. We withdrew from the horrible Paris Climate Accord. It sounds so pretty. It was going to cost us a fortune, and it was going to put us at a tremendous disadvantage. And we have cleaner air now than anybody. I want clean air. I want crystal clean water. We can do that. We don't have to pay trillions of dollars to other places. We can do it. And, you know, I did that. I said, boy, I'm going to get just absolutely slaughtered on this one. Guess what? People understand it. You know, China doesn't kick in like till 2030. And Russia kicked in at I think it was in 94 and 95, when air was not nearly as good. So they had a different standard. We kicked in immediately. And we can't change it. They said, well, you can change it, you have flexibility. But if we do that, all the environmental groups are going to sue us. Whereas China, they're not going to sue China. I have a feeling their environmental groups in China will not be suing President Xi. It's a little different system. What do you think? You think, Mark? Huh? We'll have Greenpeace. We'll have all these guys. In other words, they say you could change. Yeah, you can, but every time you change it, we'll get this massive lawsuits. They won't let you change. We would have had to actually close down many businesses in order to qualify by 2025. Did you hear about that? You know, we would have to close down businesses, otherwise we wouldn't have qualified. And we just can't. If we did, seriously, and this is called practicality, we will be sued. And so we got out of that one. We moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. Every president, practically, for many, many decades has promised that. We're going to move, and I now understand it. We will move our embassy to Jerusalem. You take a look at Obama, take a look at Bush, take a look at every one of them, Clinton. We will move, I mean, with such surety. And then they say, when are you moving the embassy? What? The president. Mr. President, when are you moving the embassy to Jerusalem? Next question, please. And I understand it, actually, because you know what happened? When the word came out that we were getting close to doing it, I was called by every country. I was called by countries I never even heard of before. I was called by everybody. Please don't move, please don't, please don't, please don't. I was called by very powerful countries, very big countries, very good countries, great friends, great allies. Some not such great allies, but they're nevertheless. I was called by everybody. And I now understand why nobody did it. Because Clinton was, and Bush was, and Obama was. They were all, so they campaigned on it. But when it came time, nobody had the guts to pull the trigger. It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. So I was going to do it like on a Monday, and I was getting these calls. Dan knows this little trick. I was getting these calls, and we must speak to the president about Jerusalem. We must speak to him, please, please. Kings, queens, presidents, prime ministers, perhaps a couple of dictators. Everybody. We must speak to the president about Jerusalem. So what I did, I was going to do it on Monday. This is like on Thursday. I said, tell him I'll call him back sometime next week. So I signed it up on Monday. Then I started returning the calls. Yeah, what can I do? Well, sir, it's a little late. You just approved it. Oh, I didn't know. What do I know? I didn't know. I'm sorry. But I understand why. I do understand why now they didn't do it. So we have a lot of things. We have a lot of great things we're going to be doing beyond this. Crime is a big, big thing with us. We've already started building the wall, and I can tell you these people are helping us with the wall. We need the wall. We have to have the wall. But we've started. We put $1.6 billion and now another $1.6. We need it faster. I could build that thing so fast. But the Democrats are obstructionists. They're trying to hold back for border security, but it's not going to work. But we have to get Mark, and we have to get Ted. We have to get all these guys. These are incredible people you have in North Carolina. I want to thank also, we had a tremendous victory. Crooked Hillary spent a lot of money in this state. She spent a tremendous amount of money. In fact, they had a thing, North Carolina will be the fire stop. I said, I don't know, why do you say that? Because Laura helped me so much here. Helped that she was born here. Help, right? She was incredible. She was working. And by the way, Deb, where are you? How about, women for Trump, right? Women for Trump. Mark's great wife. Mark's great wife. Women for Trump. At all times, at good times, at bad times. There's women for Trump, and I appreciate it. You were incredible. Without you and Laura and a lot of the people in the show, we could. And we had a big victory. It wasn't like close, but the Democrats spent a lot of money in this state, and honestly, they didn't come close. And we're doing better now than we were doing then, because now we fulfilled. This is a much easier campaign, because when I first started running, I said, we will cut your taxes. Okay, nobody believed it. We will do this. We will do that. Well, all these things that we've done, we will cut regulations. Does anybody believe we're going to cut the most in the history of our country? And I did it in much less than 2 years. More than anybody else done in 8 years. In a 16-year term, okay? He didn't quite make it to the 16, but it was a 16-year term. Cut more regulations than any other president. So all of these things that we've done, what we've done for coal, what we've done for steel, what we've done for industry, I never thought, I knew we were going to do well because I saw the potential, but I never thought we were going to be at 4.2 this quickly. But we're going to go higher. I think we're going to go a lot higher. When we fix the trade deals, when we take care of our country the way it has to be taken care of, when we stop letting outside countries and other countries, many of whom aren't even allies of ours, rip us off financially, and it's all stopping. You see what's happening. You see what's going on right now. When we make great trade deals, we have a tremendous way to go. And that all goes down to GDP. It all goes down. We protect these really rich countries. We get paid practically nothing, our military. We're protecting countries. I said, could I ask you a question? This country's loaded. They're very rich. They're worth trillions of dollars. Why are we paying for their military? Why aren't they reimbursing us the cost? And all you have to do is ask. Because for the most part, many of them wouldn't even be there if it wasn't for us. So we're asking, and we're getting very good results. You're going to see a lot of things are happening. We're doing great. It's very important that you help. Mark, could I ask you, please, and Ted, just to come up here for a second? Very, very important. These guys, these two guys, and I know them both, these two guys are special people, and they're going to do it. They're going to get in. They're going to help us make America great again. They're going to help us to keep America great, which is our new, with an exclamation point. They're going to help us to keep America great, and it's just really important that you get out there and you make sure that on November 8th, right? November 8th. 6th, same thing. That's right. Did I like November 8th? There'll only be one November 8th. There's only going to be one November. But you get out there in November, November 6th, and you got to get everyone out to vote. I'm going to ask you each to say just a couple of things to your friends and your supporters. But you two guys are special, and we have to get them down in D.C. So, Mark, why don't you start off? Thanks.
Well, let me just say once again what a privilege it is to have President Trump here, and how thankful we are for all of you who have sacrificed to be here today. And, Mr. President, thank you for bringing your message of hope, and thank you for bringing your message to encourage us. We need a Trumponian turnout on November 6th of 2018, and we're going to deliver in North Carolina.
So I just want to thank everybody, and I want to especially thank my family. I have my girls here, my parents here, I have a brother here, and I know how important family is. We saw that just a few minutes ago when Laura introduced the president, and you can just see the glory of a family and how much he loves his family and how much they love him. And when I'm around the president, you can just tell how much this man loves our country, and you can tell it. You can see it in the results. And so we're going to deliver results this coming November 6th, and we look forward to the victory, and we look forward to seeing you again, and we want to thank you all for helping us get there. Thank you.
God bless you all. We'll see you soon. Thank you. Thank you.